Vine picked up a pace, trying to run away, to hide somewhere. She couldn't bear this, dreaming for a man and having to reject him when she was so near to receive his love, his protection. Could she really escape? Her wrist was caught, stopping her in her tracks. It took her a lot of courage to keep her tears and expressions in check as she turned towards the man and pulled her wrist back harshly. That look, that one heartbreaking look, could bring her to her knees. Ryan, I told you I'm not interested. You can't force your feelings on me, Jungkook. Jungkook, we were doing all good. You don't expect me to accept this. I'm not forcing anything. Something's wrong. Tell me what's wrong, Ryan, please. He held onto her arms, searching deeply in her eyes for answers. Dangerous. She moved back instantly, pushing him away with as much as rudeness as she could gather. Ryan, stop it. You have started to act like a creep. I need to go home. It's getting late. She ran out of the station under the cold, dark sky. Jungkook always walked her back home. Since the first day she started working in a cafe near the police station. He was a cop. On her first day, he came to the cafe with a few of his other cop friends. They finished the mission and came to celebrate. Jungkook got attracted towards her at his first sight. One remembered how his friends teased him about it. They got drunk. There were some funny guys. Jungkook, in his drunk state, stumbled upon the table. She laughed. That was truly one nice day. The next day, Jungkook came home to apologize because in their celebration, they accidentally spilled a few shots. He looked truly guilty. Wine told him it was fine, and he offered to walk her back home in return. He was a cop, and he did brag about it. They started to meet daily. When they got close, she would bring him and the other boys coffee during their work hours. All of them went so well with her. They had started to form a real nice bond. Friends, or more so, a family. Until tonight, when he decided to propose her after gathering a lot of courage, only to be rejected with cold eyes and rude behavior. Jungkook didn't know what to believe. They were doing so well. It was as if she wasn't the one he knew. He stepped after her out in the cold. She was already at a distance. Jungkook maintained his distance, following her. He didn't want to force her, but he couldn't let her walk home. This late at the night, alone, he followed her quietly, till he was sure she reached home all safe. He leaned against the wall and closed his eyes. How was he supposed to take this? He was too deeply in love with her now, it burned his chest. His heart was in so much pain, he didn't know what to do with this. When he returned to the station, his friends were getting ready to leave. None of them asked a question, no matter how much they hyped him up. They read the room, and Jungkook was grateful about it. He saw her bag and picked it up. Was it right to get to return it at this hour? As long as he gets to see her again. Picking up his car keys, he drove off towards her home and stopped right outside. The lights were still on, even though it had been over an hour now. Jungkook, what went wrong, Ryan? It was not you. It was a very wrong thing, but as a cop, he had his suspicions, and he couldn't help but open up her bag, muttering a sorry. There was nothing suspicious. Wallet, cards, makeup, painkillers, and a diary. She told him she wrote everything in that diary, and it helped her sort her out her thoughts. He wondered if she wrote about him too. He was going to apologize later, but he had to do something about the pain in his heart. He went through different pages, completely getting lost in there, laughing at some, getting mad at others. When there was someone troubling her, his heart healed a little when suddenly all the pages were filled with him, and only him. What he liked, what he did, how was he in general, her feelings for him. She loved him. She even wrote it in there. But as he flipped a few more pages, her handwriting turned bad, as if she was disturbed. Everything became dark. Jungkook's eyes filled up with blood. One sat in her room, staring at the plushie placed at a distance. There was a bracelet around her, its arm. A cute one, to be exact. Once Jungkook's niece came to visit him and gifted him a bracelet she made with beads. She was a cutie, but Jungkook was not. He gave it to her instead, and she put it around her plushie. Her eyes teared up. How much she loved him and yearned for him. Not everyone was lucky to have their love, but she was. She had him right in front of her. A loud cry left her. She never treated him so rudely before. The doorbell rang and Vine opened her eyes. She didn't realize when she slept crying to herself. Wiping her dry tears, she stepped out of the room, walking up to the room and peeked out of the hole. Vine instantly opened the door. Vine, Jungkook, what are you doing here this late at night? He stepped inside, closing the door behind. He didn't care if he was not allowed to. Jungkook, why? Why didn't you tell me, Vine? He held her arms and shook her. She was shocked at his outburst. Jungkook, my father was abusing you, and you didn't tell me. Why? He looked so broke, so guilty. The pain in her heart grew only further. Vine, you loved him. You always talked about him with stars in your eyes. His eyes shut, and he slipped down to his knees, throwing his head down. Vine, I don't know how you found out, but Jungkook, I want you to know it was not your fault. Please don't be like this. Jungkook, just because he saw me interested in you, because of me, because he was sick and thought you were manipulating me, just because of that. Jungkook was disgusted. He couldn't believe he used to consider such a man his role model. Wine caught on beside him. She didn't ever want him to know. She never wanted him to come between a father and a son. But she had to admit she was wrong here. Ryan, I'm sorry. You deserve to know the truth. Please don't blame yourself. It will only give me pain. He held her hands. Jungkook, I'm sorry, Ryan. He's already behind the bars. I couldn't bear him outside after doing this to someone. But you might have to give your testimony. Will you do it? Ryan, if you want me to, Jungkook, I'll protect you. I'll do that always. Please never hide anything from me again. She nodded, and he held her hands back. She couldn't see him in pain. Jungkook, will you let me be your man, Ryan? I'll always love and protect you. I'll never let such thing happen to you ever again. So please, will you accept me? Her eyes teared up. She thought she lost him forever. She hugged him instantly and dug her face in his neck. Jungkook held her so tightly as if she might disappear. The burn in his heart had reduced, turning into something really beautiful. He had her now. He never did that before, but he could seriously cry right now. Jungkook, thank you, Ryan. I love you so much. Ryan, I'm really sorry for making you go through all this, Jungkook. This will never happen again. I love you too. He kissed her head, letting his lips stay there for a moment. He always dreamed of a woman who was now in his arms. He was never going to forget this feeling, never going to take it for granted. He was going to always protect her.